Greetings and salutations. Yes, I look terrible. I look like I feel. I'll be absolutely honest. Huge show for you today. Lots of guests popping in, lots of people ranting, lots of people telling interesting stories. If you read my Facebook posts, you will know. Sorry, I haven't introduced myself. How very, very remiss of me. um, I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show. You're listening and tuned to Men's Radio Station. It's Monday. It's the 11th of July, and it's 300 billion zillion. It's as hot as the center of the sun out there, which is great if you're on holiday, but when you're working and you're going to the recycling dump every 5 minutes and you're trying to do stuff, England is not set up for this weather. Charming. I like blue skies, but this weather is completely ridiculous. Charming though it is. I know lots of you like it. No, you can't see now. Good point. You can't see any boxes, Robert Van Buren, because they're all hidden. And good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Barry J. Allen. Well, the damn fool thought that Canada Dry, when he saw the adverts, I screwed that up. Drink Canada Dry was an instruction, not an advert, but he's back to tell the tale all the way from Canuckland. It's only Neil Longie.
Hello. Oh, it was absolutely delightful. It was a lovely, lovely break. So I've still got my little Canadian maple leaf up, which is lovely. Good afternoon. Welcome to Men's Radio Station. How are you, Russ?
I'm rubbish, but we're not going to talk about that. Tell me how your trip was. We want to know.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I saw my first raccoon. I saw my first fireflies.
What's going on? How do you mean?
Have you ever seen fireflies before?
Well, I lived in America. I probably did, but I don't remember because I was off my face for most of the time that I was.
Oh, fair enough.
It was the 70s, Studio 54 and everything like that.
Oh, lovely.
Am I wearing? No, I'm wearing Stephen Marsh, Accountant of the Stars. I'm wearing, because my hair is filthy, although I have a very big party to attend later, and then going straight from the party going on straight on to Talk TV. This should be an interesting day.
Oh, great. What's the party for?
It's my best friend, Mr. Lloyd Beanie's 70th birthday today.
Fantastic.
So happy birthday. He's so much older than me, and that's the thing. But we're still friends. We still find things to talk about. He tells me about the old days, and I'm in awe of listening to that history. He says, Stephen Marsh says, bloody cheap. Would you read this out, Neil? I'm a bit too upset, quite frankly. A little bit upset.
Are you wearing the Wimbledon cap that yesterday's runner-up refused to wear?
I don't know anything about Wimbledon unless... Is Christine Truman still playing? Chrissy Everett? I never watch it. I have no interest in sport apart from...
Oh, well, Djokovic did all right. Oh, no, facts, Djokovic. He did fine.
I don't know anything. You could say anything, and I go, really? You could say anything. You could say Sterling Moss won Wimbledon with 3 wickets to spare. And I'd go, yeah, sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think Gaza did quite well too.
Gaza? Yeah. Was he off? That's Ken. I can hear Ken. I know that voice now. I know that voice now. Oh, here we go. This is from Emma Webb. What's the drink, Rossi? It's a Diet Coke, which is my drink of choice. It's just Diet Coke because I am so dehydrated. Love the cap. Thank you. When you get bored of it, can I have it, please? I'm unlikely to get bored of it. It's my summer hat. It's just... Right, now, I don't normally do... welcome back. It's lovely, lovely to see you, and I'm so glad you had a great time. You were missed.
Thank you.
I must
nice
take
to be
better
back.
aim. Is it? Really? No, I don't mean this. Are you happy to be back? I like staying away. I haven't been away for 5 years. Now, I don't normally do music, but this chap is really, really interesting. I don't think we've ever met, but we've had loads and loads of correspondence and emails and stuff over the years. And what I love about this guy, he's a trier. He is a trier, and I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Long, please welcome Todd Sharpville. Da-da-da!
Hi, guys.
There he is. How are you, Todd?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. All well? Now, your hair was better. Now you mucked it up. It was looking all slick. And now you kind of run your hands through it in that sort of groovy way. And now there we are. Tell us about yourself and why you're here, because it's not just about the music. It's much, much wider. And Neil, I don't know if you know about Todd, but it's an very interesting story.
I look forward to hearing it. Hello, Tom. Todd.
Hi there. Well, I'm currently on a promotional trail publicising a new album, which very much focuses on men's mental health issues.
Excellent. Tell us more.
I suffered a breakdown about 16 years ago on the back of my divorce. Less so, it took me by surprise. Less so anything to do with the divorce itself, and more so to do with father's rights issues, contact struggle, sudden separation from children, which is something that men don't really chat to each other much about. So when these things happen, inevitably in many people's lives, they grab you by surprise, and they can completely knock you for six.
Yeah.
How bad was the breakdown, Todd, if you don't mind me asking?
I was suicidal.
Oh my God!
I was given a choice of either entering the hospital at the bequest of the doctors and staying as long as they wanted me to stay, or being sectioned effectively. And a section would have then made my battle to see my kids and not be a McDonald's weekend every other weekend dad. It would have made it very difficult. So I did as I was asked.
Would have made it nigh impossible. It certainly would have given huge ammunition, if I may be so bold, to the other side.
Absolutely. And once again, I mean, these are things that can compound the issues that cause the mental health problems, and then create a circular, a circular situation where men are then trapped in the same quagmire.
Yeah, very easy. It can happen more easily than we would think, actually.
Sure.
I think your story is very common as well, unfortunately. But yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that I didn't, I was so blissfully unaware of until it happened to me. And then the moment you end up in these shoes, suddenly it's almost as though, you take your sunglasses off and you can see it everywhere. And you can spot men in similar circumstances. The practicals don't help either, in that normally at that point in the juncture in time, men have to effectively try and maintain maybe two homes at the same time, financially kind of keep on top of work whilst doing whatever they legally need to do in terms of trying to see their kids. Obviously, I mean, most people, when it comes down to breakups of these kinds, are relatively responsible and they do what's right for the children. But there's always going to be a plethora of people out there who try and take advantage of the situation. And if a woman wants to effectively try and separate a man from his kids for nefarious reasons, the law does still facilitate that to quite a huge degree, because we live in an age where stereotypes have facilitated that over the years. And all the deadbeat dads out there have created a backdrop that makes it very easy to take advantage of.
It's very true, Todd. I mean, one of the things we don't do here on MRS is bash verbally women, because 50% of our audience anyway are women. We're totally inclusive. It's not some sort of boys club. It'd be the last bloody thing we want.
And women have their own problems as well that are caused on the other side of the fence.
And for everybody, all the 70,000 people listening on Deluxe Radio, Wimbledon's on holiday again. I can't believe it. He's over there. Elizabeth Green from Manhattan in the USA is saying, "Good morning. Just been living through this with my eldest son. Nightmare." Nightmare. I bet it is. And speaking of America, Azadon Brown from New York State in the Northeast is saying good day all. And I put this up a couple of times, but it's I don't know if you saw it, Todd. I saw Todd in the 606 Club. That's down in Chelsea, isn't it? In between lockdown. Fantastic. Didn't say if it was any good. That was it. And spare a thought in this crazy heat. This is Emma Webb, who says, "Hey, hot flush, oh God, and a heat wave. Help me, folks. Menopause is not funny." No, it's not. We do specials on menopause because it's very, very important. It's important for men to understand it as well.
Yeah. Very
so,
much
Todd, how did the relationship with your kids end up? Did it kind of work out all right?
And this is what's important to stress. I mean, at the time when you go through these things, you feel as though, life is completely untenable and everything's stacked against you, and, the outcomes will probably be miserable. But actually, it's about sticking with these things in the long term.
Yeah.
And it's about doing what's necessary to get yourself out of the quagmire you're in. You know, in the long run, I mean, it worked out fine. I mean, it took 4 or 5 years of battling. I upped my contact bit by bit. The kids wanted to live with me from day one. And we ended up with a 50-50 situation that ended up with the kids moving in with me when they were 12. And, you know,
Wow.
You know, single parent musician, a bit like that Blossom TV show that the Americans used to screen.
I've never seen it. I know they had a Blossom reunion, but I never saw the original thing. So the kind of reunion thing would be difficult. But Neil, you had some major bumps in the road, and you've obviously got a fantastic relationship with your daughter because you've just been in Canada with her for a couple of weeks.
Yes, very much so. I mean, the story is different to you, Todd, but it's all worked out very well now. I mean, I'm very good friends with her mum. You know, we decided that she was the important one. So, and she doesn't really need her parents battling over her. So that's not a burden for her shoulders, in my opinion, or her mum's either. I know everyone's different though. What were you doing to keep your mental health, or to get your mental health back on track before you had the success and it all worked out, Todd? What things were you doing to keep yourself?
You know, this is the point. At the very front end, I was completely floundering. I mean, I was completely knocked over for 6. I was a control freak up until that point. And it was only really when I found myself, you know, in a mental hospital, having been pretty much stripped of all my dignity and no self-esteem whatsoever, at rock bottom. And at that point, I mean, I was very blessed by having some very lovely friends.
Yeah,
and a very supportive family. Funnily enough, the pop singer Leo Sayer, who's a dear old friend, drove 8 hours in one day to come and see me at the hospital.
Good God!
Had a meeting with the chief consultant, and broke me out with her blessing a week before I was due to leave, because he had an album in Denmark. He was recording at a residential studio in Denmark. He wanted me to play on. In place
That's
of
fantastic. To my amazement, you wouldn't know this, Neil. To my amazement, one day I got a message from Leo Sayer, who had only ever had dinner once a million years ago, and saying, listening to the show, love the show, I'd love to be on it. So we did a 1-hour special from Australia. Yeah.
I'd love that.
It was great. He was charming. Now, Todd, you are our musician. I'm going to keep it slightly with a musical theme. Mm-hmm. But I know, Todd, I'm going to change the subject very slightly. Then we'll come back to why you're here. But it's time for Ray's Rants. It's time for Ray's Rants. There he is. Ray Gelato. Raimondo.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray.
Todd, you undoubtedly travel around with your band and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Ray is trying. So Ray's like my best mate. He was on the other day, and the saga continues. And I want to give him the airspace, because what is happening to Ray and to tens of thousands of other people, I don't know how your traveling was, Neil, but this just sucks. Where are we?
I know. I mean, I feel for Ray so passionately over this.
Christ. Ray, where are we with this horrible saga of incompetence?
Well, I mentioned it all on, I think, Friday, the whole caboose. We'd lost the gig. Not only lost the gig, now they've lost 4 of our bags, including a tenor saxophone. Luckily, not luckily. I feel terrible for our sax player. Ollie's sax has gone, because they have to check certain instruments now in a special sort of suitcase that he made up because of the hassle the airlines keep giving us about putting the instruments on the in the overhead lockers. Despite the fact they fit as well as anything else, but they just do it out of sheer greed to make money. And anyway, we got 4 bags missing. I've got a few people I know in airports on the case. We can't locate them.
On the case?
On the case. Tenor saxophone, trombone, band suits, band jackets. My travel humidor with some nice Cuban cigars.
No, that's all I care about is your cigars.
The stuff we're missing is irreplaceable, especially the band jackets and stuff like and shirts we've got. But nobody can locate these bags, and they've been missing since the 30th, which is over 10 days. And that's where we are.
Is anybody at all? Todd, you must have been through this yourself because you've travelled the world as a musician.
Umpteen times, but not to the degree that this is now happening en masse all over the world.
No, well, none of us have, Todd. I think this is something else. And you see, some people have said, well, how come you're travelling now when you know it's like this? But it's not as simple as that, because these gigs, this Norway one that's been booked for 3 years and it was cancelled twice due to COVID. Didn't happen last July because of the testing and all this business. So they rescheduled it now when they all thought everything would be okay. So the gigs I've got in, I think I've got 3 or 4 of them, they're all reschedules and the flights have been booked for months, and it's looking increasingly unlikely that that some of these will happen. And that's a terrible thing, not only losing the bag, but we're losing all the income. You know, I mean, the tax and VAT still want their money, don't they?
Of course they bloody do.
And yet I'm not allowed, or we're not allowed. We're basically prevented from earning any kind of income at the moment post-COVID. So I'm livid about these bags. I'm going to be writing after I speak to you guys to the CEO. Somebody on Facebook has given me another. I've written to one CEO already. So I'm trying everything I can.
So Elizabeth in Manhattan is saying, because you may not be able to say it, what airline were you on?
Elizabeth, hello, KLM Airlines to Norway, routed via connection was via Schiphol in Amsterdam, which is apparently where a lot of the problems are starting. I was in the worst hell situation because I was at Terminal 3, which is hell at the moment, the worst terminal, and Schiphol, which is hell as well. So we never even made it to Allison, so in Norway. So it's not a fact of not making it. I mean, I'm thousands down because of this at the moment, and I'm pretty angry, and I really wish I had the resources to sue KLM. I really do, because I think that these people should be there should be a worldwide crowdfunding with these people to take airlines to
court. Why don't we start it?
We should, because they've gone away with it for too long.
I don't know, I can't speak on behalf of Todd, but Ray, Todd, and we know enough musicians, and Neil knows way more than I do, should all get together, because it's unfair, number one. It's putting you under horrible, because Ray and I chat, it's putting you under horrible mental stress.
Oh, awful.
And so I think like Todd and Ray and other leading musicians should do something and speak out about it, because otherwise they get away with it.
But all the people that have lost their holidays and their business at the moment because of this, if you think of the tens of thousands of people, there should be I'm not talking about the workers. I wouldn't take the work. It's not their fault. It's the bosses that have gotten away with making a fortune and laying people off and overselling flights, making all the money, knowing full well they can't provide a damn service. And I would like to see these people. I would really like to see them held to account. And they never seem to be, ever.
Can you not find? And where do you sit with this, Neil? Could you not find, Ray? And if it happened to you, where would you be, Todd? A sort of, as much as I really hate the notion, no win, no fee lawyers.
Yeah, I'd love to. I don't know.
But there's millions of them. There's tons of them. You trip over them on Google.
Love millions. To. I don't know where to start.
The only way I can really, that I can pay my bills and survive as a musician has always been thanks to the foreign work, the touring gigs.
There you go.
You got it.
It's the foreign gigs that pay, and it's, and as Ray's pointed out, in the post-COVID era, when so much of the industry and the grassroots industry has been demolished by what's happened, whilst trying to rebuild, to be stuck in the situation where, foreign promoters are going down like flies as it is, let alone with the amount of money. It's not just us musicians, the promoters themselves who are losing cash hand over fist by putting things on that then collapse like this thanks to the airlines. It's a travesty. I don't just want to see them held financially into account. I'd like to see these CEOs dragged over hot coals and beaten publicly.
So would I. I'd actually like to see them jailed for fraud, because in my opinion, and I'm no lawyer, they are committing fraud by taking money off of people, knowing full well they cannot provide a service. Tell people you can't fly. Okay, stop flying. Say, look, we can't fly at the moment. We can't do it. Okay, you understand that. But to actually say, oh, no, you can fly, it's okay, and then lose bags and cancel stuff, it's awful. I called the promoter up this morning. I hadn't spoke to him since it had just been done on email. And he was such a lovely guy, the Norwegian guy. I felt so sorry. And I said, what did you do? He said, well, we had to cobble the band together and a few of us locals played. And I said, I know. I said, I'm so sorry. And I hope in better times we can make this happen.
He was understanding of the bloody awful situation in which you found yourself in.
Very, Russ, very. He said to me there was nothing we could do. But I don't believe in emailing. I mean, the guy that booked it emailed, and which is fair enough. But I don't. You talk to people. I called him up and explained. So he's another one of what Todd said. That's another casualty of this awful situation. What's going on? You know.
Neil, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you hide behind emails, or if you've got something to say, do you phone people up? And then I'm going to ask Todd and then Ray.
I use emails for convenience. I prefer to talk to people. I just
think even close friends now, the number of times my phone goes is like I have to dust off the cobwebs. This isn't a poor me situation because I'm flooded with hundreds of emails a day. And it's like no one phones. I don't mean no one phones me. I mean, I just think in general, people have just got out the habit of, hi, how are you? Just get an email. Well, that's crap. It's just not, it's not the same as having a chat.
What's facilitated that, though, is we live in an age where, as we've seen from Ray's situation, we're faced with so many things that we need to follow up and chase up and hound. And you create a paper trail by having an email set up, and you chat to someone on the phone, they can deny the conversation.
Completely. Oh my God.
Said, whereas at least an email is infallible. We can hold it up and say, no, I told you this at 9:30 last Tuesday, and here it is.
It's interesting. This is being confirmed. This is Sue Sleet up in Fife in Scotland. Hi, Sue. Our very best to Dave, of course. I use emails to confirm conversations. What a world we live in. But it's true. I'm the same. Because if somebody starts getting all, clever, I go, excuse me, boom, there it is, black and white.
Yeah, it's true.
End of conversation.
That's the useful side of it. But I would never advise a confrontation on email, because when I've fallen out with people, it's just Todd, in all lines of business, we have minor, not much, but the odd falling out, or say, for example, a musician has to be let go. People do this on a very well-known musician. Fired two guys that were in my band. I'm not going to say it is. He became a star, and he had a long-term trio, and he fired them on email. And to me, that's the most disgraceful thing. When I've ever had to fire people, I've either met them or I've called them up to arrange a meeting. Sometimes they don't want to meet, but you email. I find it bites you on the ass every single time. If you've got something you really have to deal with. You have to really call people, I believe. And because an email, it'll be worse anyway. I've been so stressed waiting for the email return to come back from people having a go at me. I'd rather get it out the way. And if they're going to scream and shout, let them scream and shout on the email. You can get that out the way and that's it. But this guy fired his long-term band via email, and they've never forgotten that. I can't say who.
I found the best one. I just send Rocking Dave round. And that just gets rid of the whole situation. I don't care. Some fabulous comments. Neil, could I ask you to read them? Would you mind so much?
Absolutely.
This is from Veronica Curran, who's up in Edinburgh.
She says, I want to talk to a person. I hate technology. I just can't do it. It's the same points in email just to verify. I do the same points in email just to verify the conversation. She says, Rosemary said,
this is from the horse lady.
Anything important said on the phone, I follow up in an email. Yeah, it's good to have 2 points of contact, isn't it, I guess?
Well, we live in such litigious. Litigious, is that the right word, Todd? It is litigious times.
Let's not forget that Phil Collins fired his wife by fax.
By fax. By fax.
Todd, have you ever fired anybody by email?
No, I mean I'm part of the old-fashioned, post-war military brought up by that generation. No, you.
Well, me too. I confront if I have to. I bloody hate it. Believe it or not, everybody thinks I am, but I'm very, very, very non-confrontational. I don't like to, but I force myself to do it, and it's done, and it's out of the way, and that's it. But doing that by email, I think is, especially when you've got serious business to do, I don't think it's right. Email, it's great to follow up, of course, but initially you've got to make the call.
It's also a matter. It's also actually a matter of honor. I mean, I speak flippantly about that post-war military sort of generational way of looking at things, but a good officer is not supposed to ask any of his men to do anything he's not prepared to do himself. You're supposed to lead by example. You afford the respect to someone to actually make the effort and go through the ordeal of having to say nasty things.
This is a good point coming in from. I'm so sorry. Go on, Todd. I apologize. I interrupted.
Human to human, you don't strip someone of all the respect they deserve by acting, by hiding behind emails and hiding behind texts and faxes and whatever else.
And also, when you're angry, never ever write and send an email. It's such an important thing. If we learn nothing from today's chit chat, and I've done it and I've written it, and I thought, I'll send it in the morning because nothing can be done because I never go to bed before 3 or 4 every morning. That's just how I am. And I'll just leave it and I look at it and I go, what the hell was I thinking? What an idiot. Jesus, this is awful. What a horrible email.
Yeah.
But now this is an important thing. This goes right back to what's happening to you, Ray, and what's happened to Todd and to all of. I mean, Neil, you were lucky. You went to Canada and back, and there you are. You got your clothes and everything. This is from Asa Don Brown. Would you mind, Neil? Because you have
there's several industries who have taken advantage of the times, e.g., oil and gas, prescription travel, and they should be held accountable, says Asa Don Brown.
There's a thing in America, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, and I don't know if our lovely gang on MRS have seen it. And the Biden administration, it's not a political point. I'm not interested in politics particularly anymore. I mean, they're all ghastly. Biden apparently has been, they're in the middle of a gas crisis, according to them, right? And Biden's been selling gas to the Chinese.
What?
He's been selling gas. So instead of putting it to the domestics, putting it back to his own people who voted him in, or did they? He's been selling it including to their biggest enemies. And they won't.
Has he been selling bicycles to the Chinese?
He's been selling bicycles to the China and chopsticks and rice. And the best bit, and Todd, I think it would appeal to your sense of humor, that they've got a new White House press conference woman. They got rid of the lady with the red hair. She's gone on to MS, whatever it is, Microsoft, NBC, whatever it's called. And they've got this new woman who... Jesus Christ, she makes Diane Abbott look like a genius. And so I think the New York Times asked the question. She just sat there and, well, I don't know about that. I haven't seen those reports. And I was watching this last night and thinking, if I'm sitting in my flat and I know about the reports and I'm not even involved in your government because I'm not American, you're the person you're supposed to know. It's like talking about the blind leading the blind.
We don't know if she was telling the truth when she said she didn't know about the reports.
Oh, God. Shit, no, I'm not going to go into it. I'll be like Ray and start getting annoyed.
Politics has been dumbed down over the course of the last 20 years and such a ridiculous degree. And it's been accelerated by social media because everyone feels like they're supposed to have an opinion, whether it's informed or not. Whereas down the pub in the good old days, we chat about these things, and most blokes were quite happy to put their hands up and say, don't really know much about that, rather talk about football.
Yeah. See, it's interesting. It's easy to deride that and say we'd go down, have a drink or a coffee, and like Ray and I do, and put the world to rights. But then we're friends. That's okay, and we can agree to disagree, or just say, you're being an arse. Stop it. Let's have another coffee, and it's fine. But social media, as Neil and I talk about endlessly, it can be so pernicious, and it's like if you were in a pub or in a bar and the world's biggest bore was standing next, you'd walk away. And you should do the same with social media, just because it's people
that should know better, that are out so-called sort of leaders and betters should really check themselves on social media. I mean, I hate Twitter. I just use it for my gigs, as you know.
What happened to you on TikTok, by the way, which I thought was going to be terrible? You lasted less than a week.
Someone said it was a good idea. You'll try, and I despise it with a passion. I think it's the most moronic, dumb, dreadful app in the whole world that I think is responsible for a lot of kids and young people being absolutely brainwashed, and there may be some kind of agenda behind it. I don't know, but it's dreadful.
Why? Do you know why? Can I be serious just for a sec?
Yeah.
Are you all right for time, Todd? I was very rude. I didn't ask. Are you okay?
Yeah,
I'm going to come back to the album. I want it and all the rest of it. TikTok is a Chinese. It's a Chinese company.
Right? Yeah.
And I've read about this, and I believe this to be true. And I don't do conspiracy stuff because I don't wander around with tinfoil. I just wear a white hat. And in China, the kids, I'm not pro-communist. I'm not saying the People's Republic of China is great. It's not. It's a hellhole in many, many ways. But the children are being taught mathematics, engineering, languages. They are being prepared for the future. They don't go near TikTok. And what is brilliant is that Western society, especially America, which was the leading country of the West, and now I think it's had its day, their kids, you're a genius if you can take off most of your clothes and dance around in your bedroom. Oh my God, this is fantastic. You're going to get millions of views. You're an idiot. No one cares. And the Chinese are laughing at you. Why? Because they've created, through TikTok and stuff like that, a generation of twerps who think that that's a real achievement. It's not.
It's got to be the moronic
It's just
out there. Terrible. Absolutely awful. I don't know why I bothered, but I thought, well, get away from Instagram and Facebook. Not get away, but try something else to gain some new followers. And I think one of my things got 1 like or something.
Was that you dancing in your pants around your bedroom?
She says, Daddy, don't touch. She goes, Dad, don't touch it. You're too old. And she was right. I am too old for it.
It's not. It's for kids.
I think the mistake, one error in your sentence though, Russ, is that they've created a generation of twerps. They're facilitating us with our own creation of a generation of twerps. It's our doing, and they're helping accelerate it a little bit. I mean, look, we've had reality television telling kids now for the last few generations that no, you don't want to be a plumber or a train driver or a hard-working mechanic or any of these things that we tend to have to try and find from abroad because we haven't got any of them of our own, because all our kids believe they're going to be Premier League footballers or famous singers who've only got to go on a show for 10 minutes to get famous.
Let me tell you how much I agree with
We're doing
that,
this
Todd.
ourselves, it's our own doing.
Todd, I couldn't agree. Now, Neil and I both came out of Capital Radio. That's, so we've known each other for years. And I think Neil knows this story, but Todd, I could not agree with you more. You've come up through skill. I'm not blowing smoke up your bottom. You've had to learn the hard way. Ray,
I came up the same way, Russ.
Yes, you've grafted. You've
learning
grafted
through the clubs and pubs, same way. Learning that way and having to sound bad before you sounded good, and your colleagues would tell you. So you'd go back and you'd practice and you'd take it on the chin, and if you had a bit of talent, you'd learn to play. And that was the way we learned. It wasn't about getting famous. It was because we loved the music. And if anything followed that, so a little bit of minor success or whatever, or longevity, that was purely down to the early hard work that people like us put in. That's what I think.
When I made the world's biggest mistake and was a music manager, the one huge regret I have in my life, I was ripping up all the photos and the contracts and everything till way into the morning, early hours, just feeling so depressed about it, so horrified. We used to do school tours, and as Ray and Todd will know, and Neil, you'll know, every single band, in order to get the grassroots support, would do a school tour where the band would turn up at a school and perform. I mean, One Direction, you name it, Boyzone, Westlife, they all did it. Spice Girls initially, they all did it. So we did all the school tours all over the United Kingdom and Ireland, everywhere. Thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of me driving. And every teacher in every school, anywhere in the UK, would say the same thing to me, and it was horrifying. In the old days, or any sensible days, we can't do everything. I can't sing. I can't play sax. I can't play guitar. I can drum, but that's it. So if I was go to sing, you'd expect the teacher to come and say, look, Russ, singing's not your thing, or acting's not your thing, but we need people to direct, or we need people to paint the scenery, or, other things. You'd go, thank you. But every school now, if the teacher says, I'm sorry, Susan, you can't sing, the very next day, the parents would come in screaming, I mean, shouting and raving. How dare you say my daughter can't sing? Why? Simon Cowell. Brainwashed by all those reality shows because they honestly
Well,
think they
to
can go
be
on.
fair, she didn't say the daughter would never be able to sing. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
It's just an overreaction.
But she's saying, look, singing's not her strong suit. She's a
moment.
wonderful actress. She can act in our school plays, or she's really good at sports.
We've forgotten culture that that parenting actually involves parenting, teaching our children how to fly the nest and how to be independent and secure enough individually to do that. But parenting has just simply become another virtue signal. It's become another way of making yourself feel good about your parenting role rather than thinking about what it really entails. People who want to be friends with their kids. We're best friends. People who want to dress their kids up like themselves as some sort of a fashion statement. It's the entire mentality of not being able to have the balls to tell your children what's right, what's wrong, when they've failed, when they've succeeded.
Yeah,
the sports days where everyone gets a prize.
That's Tony Blair's bullshit. Everyone's a winner. No, everyone apart from the Hot Chocolate song, everyone is not a winner. It's not how life works.
What Ray was saying earlier about back in the day when we were cutting our teeth, all of my mentors and all of the older musicians who, as a kid, I was hanging around and trying to suck up as much inspiration and understanding from. They always had the balls back in those days to tell you when you were shit, when you were out of order, when something needed fixing. No one was too worried about coming forward and laying the truth on the line. And that was such a blessing. It was great being slapped around the head by people back in those days because it actually genuinely taught me something.
Because otherwise, I honestly think people become, and I use the word advisedly, delusional.
That's the word.
Just delusional.
You've got to know what you can do and what you can't do. Look, I went to a grammar school, which I hated, and they had fencing. So I thought I was Errol Flynn. I dressed in the fencing stuff. I signed up for the fencing class, got the bloody, whatever it was. Yeah. And had the mask on and the white and did all the kind of fencing. I thought I was great. And the guy pulled me aside. He said to me, "Oi, son." I says, "What?" He said, "Don't come back here again." He goes, "You'll never be any good at fencing." But he was probably bloody right. So
saved you a lot of time.
Went home, yeah. And you know what? I can tell a musician that's got talent to play, and I can tell someone if they sit in that hasn't. And I'm being unkind. Some people will never ever make it in music because they just can't hear it. It's not their fault. They got different skills, but this is what people don't understand. There's a natural ability to things that you have to also have. Hard work gets you a lot, but you have to have that grain of talent there, and I never had it with fencing. And the bastard told me.
I agree. Neil and I have often spoken, and I know that we've had the same conversation with Pat Sharp. When we started at Capital, I started at Capital in 1984, and you had to be. I am not patting myself on the back. I was bloody lucky. Just right place, right time. But you had to be at the top of your game. You had to be the best. It was a huge station. And you had to be very, very good. And you look at the people who were the alumni there, and there are who's who, of broadcasters that I was thrilled to be in the same building as.
Yeah.
Thrilled. I was excited. I couldn't believe working with Alan Freeman, Dave Cash, Kenny Everett, Tarrant. Yes, Roger Scott, Graham Dean. People that, as a kid, I never thought I'd meet, let alone work with. I mean, it was a dream come. It was extraordinary. But now, and Neil, I know, can back me up. It's got to do with, we don't want to pay 1.3 million a year. I tell you what we do want to do. We want to pay 25 quid a show. You'll pay your own expenses, and you're coming in from the middle of sodding nowhere. Okay. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. And you listen to it and you think, and I'm not picking on Capital. You can just scan the dial and you think, Jesus. How are these people allowed? It's because, why? One, ka-ching, and two, they don't care. They don't have it. They don't have it. Where's the new, I can't talk about musicians like you two, but where's the new Terry Wogan? Where is that? Where is that?
There's always one or two exceptions to the rule, thankfully, but they do have to climb, over a plethora of idiots in order to be able to be seen and noticed. And we have to, and as punters, we have to sift through a plethora of idiots in order to find all the good stuff. Same's happened to the world of music, to film, the literary world. It's the way, it's the ordination of things today. It's sad, declining standards.
Where do you stand on this, Todd? Todd, where do you stand on this? This is from Dave Sleep. Neil, would you be so kind? My eyesight's rubbish.
Of course. Dave says the capacity to train people how to handle situations when things go wrong has been eroded so badly. The positive impact of handling situations effectively can turn the situation into a positive experience.
So true. So true. Why is it we're so, I guess what puzzles me is we're so keen on social media to scream and shout and abuse. Well, I won't. I refuse to engage. But people are. And yet in real life, they won't really confront in a
it's
positive
interesting.
way.
I don't like confrontation. I always like to sort things out calmly, whenever possible, which is 99% of the time. But my rule of thumb on social media is if I wouldn't say it to your face, I won't say it online. It's simple. And touch wood, I've never had any problems ever on social media. It's a simple rule of thumb and it just works.
Same. I same thing. I wouldn't say anything to anybody that I wouldn't say to their face. I'm not going to insult people now. Just on another thing, very quickly. Did you know that Ryanair's customer service department, Jonathan Pye had a bad experience with them and tweeted about it, and their response was Ryanair. Oh, this is their customer service. Okay, boomer.
No way.
Oh yeah.
My God. To Jonathan Pye.
Yeah.
They clearly have no idea the damage they've just done to themselves.
That was this about 2 weeks ago. This was their customer service department had said that. Absolute trolling of rude and trolling to Jonathan Pye. I don't know if they thought they were being funny, but it came across.
They were being funny. And sadly, I mean, they've created a precedent where we all know that their customer service is shit. We all know that their service is shit, but we all desperately want the cheapest flight possible, and we're prepared to suffer some shit in order to be able to get from A to B as cheaply as possible. And the public have now accepted and embraced this new paradigm where that's the case, and where standards within the airline industry are no longer accepted as being a certain level as a minimum, and that's it. I mean, we've created this ourselves, really, and I don't know how to reverse it.
I couldn't agree more. We have accepted that. Well, maybe we haven't. We've tried to fight against it, but the hen and stag nights and the cheap holidays and whatever, people have just been so desperate to get away. They've accepted this disgraceful, debasing service, and it is debasing. I've had it so many times, and I find with airlines, face to face, you're better off just being completely calm, slightly patronising if they're rude and whatever. But if you do lose it, if you get cross, they won't. It's awful. So I try to do the other way. I'm sneaky. I put my saxophone on my back. I've learned the best way round it is to be a crook yourself. Just put the sax on your back with two black straps so they can't see it, and do the old twist and turn so they don't see the tenor saxophone and get it on the. If you're honest with them, it's no good.
There's a handy caveat you can use when making your complaint, which I always do, which is where I will go as mad as I feel like I need to be at the time, but I'll keep throwing in the sentence, I'm not directing this at you personally, but the company.
Now this is exactly what I did. I fell out with my media provider because I accidentally turned on roaming charges while I was in Canada. That was a mistake when they went cut off at the most inopportune moment, and they said I had a bill of 300 quid. So that took some negotiation, but I've been backing and forthing with them, and you do have to keep going. But I agree with you. I just say I don't. But you do have to. I think you just have to keep on. And really assert your point. I don't think there's any need to be rude. And like you, I say, I know I'm not taking it out on you personally, but this is not on, and it wasn't on.
How was your trip, Neil? Because you're the most recent flyer, because you must have just got back yesterday.
I hate to say it was really good. It was absolutely fine.
Who did you go with?
Air Transat.
Transat?
Yeah.
Like Ackerbilk and his band. What is Transat?
They're a Canadian company.
Or something fashionable at the moment.
Oh, whoa.
I have to get it.
Because right. Question for Todd Sharpville. And I'm going to throw it over to Ray. But Todd, you've got to answer this one. Paul Claridge, who thank God isn't at East Croydon anymore, getting beaten up every day, literally. I've got a few mates who earn their living as musicians. On their behalf, can venue owners and promoters please stop asking them to perform for free? Todd Sharpville.
Asking them to perform for free. My whole life, I've been asked to perform for free. You know, the assumption charity do, that of course it's a charity do, is designed to raise money for charity, therefore. But, you know, if I did every single one of those, I'd be working every single night of my
For
life.
nothing.
Really.
For nothing.
You know.
But Neil, you must get that. Neil, you must get that as well.
I saw a great post from a DJ colleague. He says, we've rehearsed, we've practiced, we've bought all the gear, we've set up all the gear, we've driven, we've taken out most of the day to do it. We're going to break down at the end of the night, drive all the way home, and you want it for £100. You know?
Right.
But I think it's important that we charge what we think we're worth as well. That's an esteem thing, I think. And I think some people will pay more for quality as well. It's just a question of finding the right market. Because, yeah, there's loads of people that want stuff for nothing. Who doesn't?
Ray, will you play for nothing?
I have. I can't say for nothing. You know what? I've played personally for nothing a few times on things, but I've made sure the guys have got paid because it's my name that they want. And but generally now people know not to ask me because I can't. I'm in business and I can't. I give discounts. I give discounts to friends if it's someone or a loyal fan. If they're getting married and they say, look, we haven't got this and we can negotiate. So I'll often do favors. Having said that, like I say, they don't generally ask me because they'll know what answer they're going to get. We have to make a living and that's it. But I am flexible like that. Trouble with playing for free is it's not about me or it's not about Todd. It's about some of the other bands that out there that are playing for free and are playing for very, very, very cheap as well. Some of them more, and a lot of these guys have day gigs and whatever. And I'm not condemning them. Of course, they have to play, but they do mess it up for other people. I mean, for example, right, quickly, I'm not around. I had a good career in Italy. We were on TV out there 30 years ago, and a lot of stuff. And at one point, there was about 20 Ray Gelato copy bands out in Italy because we were the first people doing that stuff out there since the 50s or whatever. Renato Carzone and Louis Prima and that sort of stuff. And there were so many cop bands who kind of have copied me. And what happened was they were getting booked on the festivals because they were a quarter of the price. They didn't use me. One side is fun, the other side is annoying.
That's ridiculous. A word of warning, if I may, and it is only brought back by all the horrible paperwork, thousands of sheets. I don't mean hundreds, I mean thousands I was destroying over the last sort of 12 hours. When somebody says it's good for your profile, tell them to take a hike. It's complete rubbish.
This is another consequence of this reality television age and the TV competitions and whatever, is that it's debased and downsized public perception of art generally. The idea, normally the one question people will ask you if they find out that you're a musician is they say, yeah, but what do you actually do? You know, it's the assumption that this is just a bit of a laugh or a conceit rather than
it's not a hobby,
not a proper job.
Neil, it's not a hobby, is it? I mean, these guys, it's ridiculous.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a way of making a living at the very least, and an absolute vocation. I mean, you tell any other person in any other job that it's not a proper job. Why is this not a proper job? Have you heard of pay to play? There's a wonderful up and coming young artiste that I know, and she tells me the venues actually, rather than booking her, they have to pay them to play there.
Oh yes, we had all that.
Yeah,
we had loads of that.
That was always the case in a way, because I remember playing the Half Moon Putney when the pubs were credible venues. We used to play those, and they used to charge us, I think, in those days, 40 quid in about 1980 to pay for the PA system and the engineer. Right. And if you didn't pull people in, you would come out of that gig in deficit. So I'm not, it was always going on up to a point, that sort of thing. In my experience,
it was worse because a lot of the contracts, and I wouldn't sign them on behalf of any of our artists, was, and what you have to do is you have to bring in at least it varied, but at least 50 to 100 people.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wait a minute, we're not a promoter. Why are we doing your job? They're going to buy your drinks. They're going to pay your cover charge. They're going to buy your... No. This is...
Well, we're doing that now, though, Russ, with social media, because every single gig I book, they always email me and say, what are you doing with the social media? Everybody.
That's different.
No, but-
That's okay.
Well, no, because you have to pay for targeted ads on social media. Every time I do a show, I have to.
Yeah.
I have to advertise it, and I'm expected to be the one to do that rather than the promoter.
That is the point. If it was 50-50 and we were doing it, half of it and they were, but I'm not going to name and shame any venue, but a lot of the venues do nothing whatsoever. The best they'll do is retweet. That was what they'll do.
It's so lazy. It's lazy. It's pure laziness.
Very lazy.
Here's a very good point. Sorry,
things
Todd.
Correspond with societal values. I mean, we were talking about this in relation to other things already today. The idea, the old-fashioned premise that in business, in any business partnership or any mutual business venture, that you share the risk equally, dependent on what you're individually risking. And you know, this premise of fairness when it comes down to these things, this is dissipated along with all of our other values at an alarming rate. You know,
there's some amazing comments coming in. This is from somebody obviously watching this and listening to it on my private espresso bar, which is on Facebook.
Hello,
it's just
Facebook
called
user.
Espresso Bar.
Charities do have to pay for catering, sound and lighting, etc. So why should the musicians get shafted?
Absolutely
Yes. Why do
right.
people perceive musicians at the kind of bottom of the pyramid?
Or compares, Neil, or hosts.
Huh?
well, we're being turned into minstrels at the moment. Recorded music has lost all of its value because of the streaming model. You know, back in the day, you know, 1 million radio plays traditionally would have made you a multi-millionaire as a writer. Now it'll make you about 1,500 quid. And the only people who get millions of streams are the very top 1% of the industry that don't represent us. The industry is the 99% of the rest of us underneath that.
Yes, very much.
You know, I have to split every stream that with my record label, and that's a split of 0.0034p a stream.
I've made nothing from Spotify whatsoever. I mean, nothing. But what Neil said, just to back up a little bit, what Neil said earlier a few minutes ago, you have to value yourself. Don't rely on anybody else. I set my price and I will compromise slightly. And if people can't afford it and say, well, I'll go to what this other, whatever, we'll do it cheaper. So go. Absolutely fine.
Yeah,
Go.
fair enough.
That's the only
Fair
answer.
enough.
That is
You know,
the
if you're
only
providing
answer.
a professional, this goes for anyone in any job. If you're providing a professional service, you know, don't be afraid to charge what you think you're worth.
No.
Because then, if you feel you're worth a lot, that's, you know, this comes down to mental health and self-esteem and all that sort of thing again, doesn't it? And people will pay for quality. So I really do believe that, and I say it to a lot of my friends: don't be afraid to charge. Don't be afraid to charge what you're worth.
It certainly helps the rate looks like a gangster from The Sopranos. I'm pretty sure that assists him and getting paid when he needs to be.
Did you see that Walnuts died this week?
Yeah,
He died. That's from Surprise. Now, here's the thing. By the way, this isn't just for musicians. When I made my living out of corporate writing, and we would write what was called a treatment, and there was a standard fee for that, which was a decent fee. And then, of course, people said, "Oh, I'll write the treatment for nothing." So then you got all these production companies and all these big corporates saying, "Oh, but Russ, you've been charging us this. Yeah, that's why you've won the awards, with respect. But I've got Fred Smith up the road." I said, "Well, go with Fred Smith then. It's fine. He's going to do it for nothing. Go with him." I mean, it's the same answer that you guys had. There's no point. Why would I do it for nothing? I'd rather walk my dog.
This is why the quality is pretty low, because I think this is what's happening everywhere. People are going for the cheapest rather than, you know, and the audience know too. The audience know as well.
Look at this. This is coming. Neil, would you be so kind? This is coming from New York State, just summing up beautifully what you've been saying.
Now, this guy is very much in the mental health field, so I always find his comments very interesting. Asa Don Brown, as a society, we have a fast food mentality, Instagram, craving instant gratification. We're no longer interested, nor do we demand quality. It's about quantity and that instant gratification. But then you will get the hedonic adaptation, won't you? So if you can have as much as you want of something, it's no longer novelty anymore, and you won't appreciate it. Dave Sleet says, believe it or not, receiving and delivering complaints can be effectively delivered through APA's reaction versus response seminar. Oh yeah, using psychological awareness to achieve the desired outcome. Intriguing.
Dave Sleet is like a brain. Him and Asa, they got brain. The pair of them, brain is like the planet Jupiter. I mean, the stuff they come up with. I speak to Dave, and it's like, How the hell did you even think of that?
Can you put that comment back up for a second? 'Cause
Yeah,
he's
it's
used
a
some
really interesting point. And it
he's
goes
used some
back-
interesting words here: react and respond. So if you put a hyphen after in react, you can either react and act the same way you always did before, kind of mindlessly, or if you take the word responsibility and put a hyphen there, responsibility, it gives you more flexibility and an ability to respond in a fresh way rather than reacting like you did before.
Well, you do the same things over and over. You know, it's the way to madness. Talk about the new album as we wind up. Tell us about the new album, Todd.
Well, you know, the album represents pretty much that period 16 years ago. It's very much the things that led to the hospital.
Could you put that up again? Because that was quite quick.
Yeah, it's called Medication Time. Todd Sharpville, for those of us that can't see this that are listening. Oh, look at that cover.
That is cool as hell.
You know, which I had trouble with the cover a la Spinal Tap and Smell the Glove, because I had a very important American publicist who I ended up having to not work with over the argument over the cover, tell me that my cover was offensive.
To who?
It's not offensive if it's happened to you.
This is cancel culture in essence.
But it's happened to you, Todd. This is where you were.
Seriously offended. He said at best your cover is a joke, at worst an affront.
Oh, really?
It's me representing my own personal experience. You know, what can I say? I said, well, you know, would people be offended if it was a Tom Waits cover? Oh no, that's different. We're all familiar with Tom Waits' sense of humor.
So to me, that's no different that Ray would do something like set in Soho or, you know, in a coffee. But I mean, you know, the sort of life that it's representation visually of who you are and what's happened to you.
How about me back in the head of KLM? Would that be a good cover?
That would be a good one. No, I want, you know, that shot where you've got rocking Dave and you're throttling him in the video in One Last Meatball. Is it called One Last Meatball? One Last Meatball.
Yeah,
So what you need is you and the KLM. That'd be the cover.
Superimposed, yeah.
I am not flying with you again. Where's my bags? By Ray Gelato and the Giants. Wow, Todd. So the album's out now.
Yeah, Dixie Frog Records. They've been around 35 years. They're a long-standing French blues label. The album is bluesy, but it's a representation of all the different genres of music I listen to. It is a bit Tom Waitsy, I suppose, if I had to compare it to something. But it's a heart and sleeve. The older I get, the more heart and sleeve I get.
Was it cathartic?
It's everything. I don't know, because I started writing all these songs so many years after the event when I finally, when I was really out of it emotionally. Sometimes you require a bit of objectivity to be able to look back on things and represent them honestly, rather than in the throes of what you're going through at the time. So maybe that's why I found myself writing the title track.
What do you do now for mental self-care? Keep yourself feeling good.
The experience very much, I mean, it was boot camp for all the difficult things in life that were going to come afterwards. And this is what, I mean, Larry McRae, my dear old friend from Detroit, remarkable bluesman, we duet on the album, because he phoned me every day when I was in hospital at the time and was offering me big brotherly advice and explaining to me that, look, you're a lost virgin, and you're suffering on the back of the fact that this is one of your first major losses that's floored you, and you have no idea how many more of these are going to come in life and how your mental health is going to react to them. You've got to use these experiences as a way of toughening yourself, as being a boot camp, to know that if you can cope with this, then you can cope with what comes next. And and it's an accumulative thing. It's having faith in your own abilities, which comes from suffering a little bit and learning how to cope with the suffering. Once again, the modern age responds to mental health issues in terms of, well, just medicate, and leave it at that, which it never used to be historically when I was growing up. There was a lot of self-work that was more focused on by the mental health professional industry. And now they just give people pills and make them run away into corners.
Because it's quick. Because Todd, it's quick. It gets them out of the surgery and it gets them out of their hair. And I'm sorry to be blunt about it. But it's not a quick fix. Mental health is not a quick fix, which is why we give everybody always like an hour, unless they're boring as stupid. And then Neil and I will give each other a high sign or something. But,
Mm.
I won't do a 3-minute, hey, how to stop feeling depressed. And now here's summer floaty fashions. I'm not going to do that. It's just nonsense. Todd Sharpville, always a pleasure. Thank you for all the lovely messages.
Thanks.
You sent
Lovely
me,
to
by
meet
the
you,
way.
Todd, and good luck with the album.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
Todd.
Ray, I will see you soon. I just hope that your stuff turns up. I really
Yeah, I
do.
hope
It's
you
a
get your stuff
bloody
back, Ray.
nonsense.
Thanks for sharing that.
Bless you.
Yeah.
See you guys. See you guys. Neil, welcome back. We've missed
Thank you.
It's
And there
lovely.
goes another one.
Another show, and I hope people find this. I think the main thing about MRS is you're not alone. You're not alone. I'm not going to do that thing with your friend on the radio and all that baloney. But you can see that other people are going through it too. So take some comfort from that.
It's a safe space, and
It
it's
is.
just great. And I think it's
safe.
great. And a female friend of mine said this the other day, and I think this is what's great about men's radio. In fact, the lovely Liz that stood in for me,
She was great. Yep.
I thought she did a lovely job personally, but she said, men are not really known for talking. So if someone's just dipping in and out, and maybe they've got problems, they can see a group of guys together just talking and just being open and honest with each other, and that is a good thing to see.
We got to go. We got to go. We're right out of time. Unbelievable. Neil, welcome.
See you Wednesday.
Back. See you Wednesday. Take care, everyone. Bye.